Have you ever found yourself standing at a turning point in life, feeling like no matter what you do, something outside of you is pulling the strings? Like every decision is influenced by pressure, expectations, or circumstances you never chose. On Stoicism Breath, this is where everything begins to change. Because what if the problem isn't your situation, but where you're placing your control? Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that your emotions, your reactions, your decisions are no longer controlled by what happens around you. That no matter how chaotic the world gets, you remain steady, clear, grounded, and in control. That's not a fantasy. That's a skill. And it's a skill that some of the greatest minds in history have trained and lived by. Today, we step into that mindset through Stoicism, not just as a philosophy, but as a practical guide to living with clarity, calmness, and strength in a world that rarely slows down. Because transformation doesn't happen in big moments. It happens in small shifts. And the first shift is understanding what you can actually control. Epictetus introduced one of the most powerful ideas you'll ever hear. There are things you can control, and things you can't. Simple, but life-changing. You can't control what people think about you. You can't control what happens tomorrow. You can't control how others behave. But you can control how you respond. You can control your effort, your mindset, your choices. And once you truly understand that, something inside you starts to relax. Because you stop wasting energy fighting what was never yours to control. Instead, you focus on what is yours. Your actions. Your direction. Your character. That's where real power lies. Carl Jung believed that true mastery comes from understanding your inner world. Because if you don't understand yourself, the outside world will always feel overwhelming. But when you do, the chaos outside loses its grip. Aristotle took this even further. He believed that a good life isn't about controlling everything. It's about living with virtue and reason, acting intentionally, based on what you can influence. And even Socrates, through constant questioning, pushed one idea above all else. Clarity comes from knowing what is within your power, and what is not. Now here's where the second shift happens. Acceptance. And this is where most people resist. Because acceptance feels like giving up. But Stoicism teaches something different. Marcus Aurelius saw acceptance not as weakness, but as alignment. Alignment with reality. Because life will not always go your way. Some things will work. Some things won't. Some days will feel light. Others will feel heavy. And the more you fight that truth, the more exhausted you become. But the moment you begin to accept life as it is, not as you wish it to be, you create space. Space for clarity. Space for calm. Space to actually respond instead of react. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop trying. It means you stop resisting what already exists. And that shift alone can change everything. Because instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, How do I move through this with strength? And that question leads you forward. On Stoicism Breath, this is where the journey deepens, because once you understand control, the next step is something even more powerful: acceptance. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that everything that happens to you is woven into the fabric of your life for a reason, not as punishment, not as random chaos, but as part of a larger pattern that shapes who you become. Think about that for a moment. What if the challenges you've faced, the delays, the disappointments, even the failures, were not obstacles, but necessary pieces of your growth? Life is not a straight line. It's a mixture of opposites: joy and pain, progress and setbacks, certainty and confusion. And the more you resist that truth, the more tension you create inside yourself. But when you begin to accept life as a full spectrum of experiences, something shifts. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That shift alone can bring a sense of calm most people spend years chasing. Psychology echoes this idea. Carl Jung believed that true growth comes from integrating all parts of ourselves, including the uncomfortable ones. Not rejecting them, not hiding them, but understanding them. Because peace doesn't come from perfection. It comes from wholeness. Aristotle called this balance the golden mean, a life lived between extremes, not resisting everything, not surrendering to everything, but knowing when to accept and when to act. And that's the real art of living. Knowing what to let go of and what to improve. Plato taught that wisdom begins when we accept reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. And Socrates pushed this even further, showing that true understanding comes from questioning our assumptions and facing truth directly, even when it's uncomfortable. Because clarity always leads to peace. Now, from that place of acceptance, we move into something even more practical. Desire. Seneca warned that the fastest way to feel poor is not by having too little, but by always wanting more. And if you really think about it, that explains so much of modern life. Always chasing. Always comparing. Always feeling like something is missing. But here's the truth most people overlook. Desire, when uncontrolled, creates a permanent state of dissatisfaction. You get what you want, and for a moment, it feels good. Then the mind moves the goalpost. And suddenly, it's not enough anymore. That cycle never ends unless you step out of it. Stoicism teaches a different path. Instead of chasing more, you learn to value what already exists. Instead of asking, "What else can I get?" you begin asking, "What do I already have that I've been ignoring?" This isn't about lowering your ambition. It's about reclaiming your peace. Because when your happiness depends on something external, it's always fragile. But when it comes from within, from awareness, gratitude, and self-understanding, it becomes stable. Aristotle supported this idea, emphasizing that a fulfilling life is built on balance, not excess. And Jung reinforced it, showing that true contentment comes from understanding yourself, not from accumulating more. Even Plato believed that a well-ordered life is one where desires are guided by reason, not impulse. And Socrates reminded us that without self-reflection, we remain trapped in patterns we don't even recognize. So the question becomes, are your desires leading you, or are you leading them? Because mastering that difference changes everything. And once you begin to understand that, you're ready for one of the most profound truths of all. Nothing lasts. Everything changes. Marcus Aurelius reflected constantly on this idea, that life itself is in motion, that every moment, every experience, every emotion is temporary. And instead of fearing that truth, Stoicism invites you to embrace it. Because when you truly understand that nothing lasts forever, you stop clinging. You stop overreacting. You stop taking every setback as permanent. You begin to see life as it is, a continuous flow. Not something to control completely, but something to navigate wisely. And in that awareness, you find something rare: composure. Because when you know that both good and bad moments will pass, you no longer lose yourself in either. You stay grounded, steady, in control of what truly matters: your response, your mindset, your direction. And that is where real strength begins. On Stoicism Breath, here's where everything begins to shift in a deeper way, because understanding that life changes is one thing, but truly accepting it is something else entirely. This idea is not meant to make you feel hopeless or detached from life. It's not about giving up. It's about releasing the silent pressure we carry every day, the pressure to hold on to moments, to control outcomes, to keep things exactly as they are. But let's be honest, how often does life actually stay the same? Think about the last year of your life. The people, the emotions, the priorities, how many of them have already changed? That's not failure. That's reality. And once you accept that everything is temporary, something powerful happens. You stop resisting change, and you start flowing with it. The ancient philosopher Heraclitus once said that no one steps into the same river twice, because the river is always moving, and so are you. You are not the same person you were yesterday. And that's not something to fear. That's growth. Psychology supports this deeply. Carl Jung believed that life unfolds in phases, each one shaping who we become. Every challenge, every transition, every moment of uncertainty is not random. It's part of a transformation process. So instead of asking, "Why is everything changing?" you begin asking, "Who am I becoming through this change?" Aristotle saw this as potential, the idea that everything in life is constantly evolving towards something greater. And even Plato acknowledged that while the world around us shifts, our understanding of truth grows through that very change. So rather than clinging to what was, you start building who you are becoming. And that leads us to one of the most practical and powerful teachings in Stoicism: virtue. Because in a world that constantly changes, your character is what anchors you. The Stoics believe that a meaningful life is not built on circumstances, but on how you choose to live. They define 4 core virtues, not as abstract ideas, but as daily tools: wisdom, courage, justice, temperance, Let's break that down in real life. Wisdom is knowing what actually matters and what doesn't. It's the ability to pause and ask, is this worth my energy? It's choosing clarity over impulse. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that wisdom is what keeps your mind steady when everything else feels uncertain. Then there's courage. Not just the kind you see in dramatic moments, but the quiet courage to face discomfort, to have difficult conversations, to stand by your values when it's easier to stay silent. Seneca described this as inner strength, the ability to endure, to rise, to keep going even when it's hard. Next is justice. How you treat people, especially when there's nothing to gain. It's easy to be kind when it's convenient. But real character shows when you choose fairness, respect, and integrity, no matter the situation. Epictetus believed that living well means acting justly, because we are all part of something bigger than ourselves. And finally, temperance. This is self-control. The ability to say, enough. In a world that constantly pushes for more success, more validation, more stimulation, temperance is what protects your peace. It's choosing balance over excess. It's knowing when to stop and when to step back. Seneca emphasized that without moderation, even good things can become destructive. And when you put all of these together, something powerful begins to form. You become stable in an unstable world. You become calm in chaos. You become someone who doesn't just react to life, but leads it. Aristotle called this flourishing, a life built on virtue, not circumstance. And the truth is, you don't need perfect conditions to live well. You just need the right principles. Because when your character is strong, even when life changes, you don't lose yourself. You evolve with it. On Stoicism Breath, this is where everything becomes practical, because understanding life is one thing, but learning how to respond to it is where real transformation begins. Aristotle once described virtue as a balance, a middle ground between too much and too little. Not extreme, not reactive, but steady. And when you think about it, that's exactly what most people struggle with today. Too emotional, or completely shut down. Too reactive, or completely passive. But what if the real strength lies in balance? Carl Jung believed that becoming a whole person means integrating all parts of yourself. Not just the good, not just the strong, but everything. And that's where Stoic virtues come alive, not as theory, but as daily practice. And this leads us to one of the most powerful lessons you can apply immediately. You don't control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond. Epictetus made this clear in the simplest way possible. It's not events that disturb you, it's your interpretation of them. Think about that. Two people can face the exact same situation and walk away with completely different emotions. Why? Because of how they choose to see it. One sees failure, the other sees feedback. One sees rejection, the other sees redirection. So the real question is not, what happened? The real question is, what meaning did you give it? This is where your power is. And modern psychology proves it. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, shows that your thoughts shape your emotions, and your emotions shape your actions. Change the thought, and you change the outcome. So instead of reacting automatically, imagine pausing for just a moment. Taking a breath. And asking yourself, is this reaction helping me or hurting me? That single pause can change your entire life. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. He reminded himself daily not to be carried away by anger, stress, or fear, but to stay grounded, calm, and intentional. Because when you control your response, you control your direction. And that naturally leads into the next level of mastery. Mindfulness. Seneca once said that true happiness comes from enjoying the present moment without being trapped by the past or anxious about the future. And if you look around today, this might be the one thing most people are missing. We're always somewhere else, thinking about what already happened, or worrying about what hasn't happened yet, but rarely fully here, fully present. And that's where life actually happens. Mindfulness isn't complicated. It's simply awareness. It's noticing your breath when your mind starts racing. It's paying attention to a conversation instead of thinking about what to say next. It's being present in your own life instead of watching it pass by. Marcus Aurelius believed that the present moment is all you ever truly have. And when you anchor yourself in it, something incredible happens. The noise fades. The stress softens. And clarity returns. Modern science supports this too. Practices like mindfulness-based stress reduction have been shown to lower anxiety, improve focus, and even enhance physical health. But beyond the science, there's something deeper. When you are fully present, you stop escaping your life. And you start living it. So ask yourself honestly, how often are you truly here in this moment? Because the quality of your life is shaped by the quality of your attention. And when you learn to control your response and master your presence, you don't just react to life anymore. You experience it fully, deeply, and on your own terms. On Stoicism Breath, this is where everything begins to focus, because once you learn to be present, you unlock something even deeper, the ability to truly appreciate your life as it is. Modern science confirms that ancient philosophy was renewed. When you are fully present, your stress decreases, your mind becomes clear, and your body begins to relax. You're no longer trapped in endless thoughts about the past or fears about the future. You're finally here. And that presence is not just calming, it's transformative. Aristotle called this state flourishing, a life where you are fully engaged, aligned with your values, and living with intention. Not distracted, not disconnected, but actively present in every moment. Even Plato saw this as a form of deeper awareness, the pursuit of understanding not just the world around you, but your place within it. And that kind of awareness only happens when your mind is not scattered, but focused. Now from that state of presence, something powerful begins to grow naturally. Gratitude. Seneca taught that true happiness isn't found in chasing more. It's found in recognizing what is already enough. Think about how often the mind says, "I'll be happy when I get that job, when I earn more money, when things finally go my way." But what if happiness isn't waiting in the future? What if it's already here, just unnoticed? Gratitude shifts your entire perspective. It moves you from scarcity to sufficiency. From, "I don't have enough," to, "I already have so much." And this isn't just philosophy, it's backed by research. Studies in positive psychology show that practicing gratitude can increase happiness, reduce anxiety, and even improve relationships. But more importantly, it changes how you experience your life. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. Even in the face of hardship, he reminded himself to be thankful, not just for the good, but for the challenges too. Because challenges build strength, and strength builds peace. Carl Jung believed that true growth comes from accepting all parts of life, the light and the dark. Gratitude is not about ignoring difficulty, it's about seeing value within it. It's about understanding that every experience, even the painful ones, shapes who you are becoming. And when you live with that awareness, you stop resisting life. You start learning from it. Which leads directly into one of the most important qualities you can develop: resilience. Epictetus didn't see obstacles as problems. He saw them as training. Every setback, every frustration, every unexpected challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your mind. And the difference between people who break and people who grow is not what they go through. It's how they respond. Because resilience is not about avoiding difficulty. It's about facing it without losing yourself. It's about staying calm when things don't go your way. It's about learning, adapting, and continuing forward, even when it's uncomfortable. Think about a moment in your life that challenged you deeply. At the time, it may have felt overwhelming. But looking back, didn't it change you? Didn't it make you stronger, wiser, more aware? That's resilience in action. Aristotle believed that true fulfillment comes not from an easy life, but from overcoming difficulty with virtue. Growth doesn't happen in comfort, it happens in resistance. And Carl Jung echoed this idea, showing that personal transformation often comes from confronting and integrating life's challenges. So instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What is this building within me?" Because every challenge carries a hidden opportunity. An opportunity to become stronger, to become wiser, to become more grounded. And when you combine presence, gratitude, and resilience, you don't just survive life. You grow through it. You evolve with it. And most importantly, you begin to live with a kind of inner strength that no external situation can take away. On Stoicism Breath, this is where everything comes together, because resilience is not just about enduring life, it's about transforming through it. Every challenge you face is not random. It's shaping you. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He didn't see adversity as something to complain about. He saw it as training, a test of character, a moment to practice calm, patience, and strength. Think about that. What if the hardest moments in your life were not there to break you, but to build you? Socrates lived this truth. He faced criticism, rejection, even danger, yet he never abandoned his principles. He stayed grounded, committed to truth, and unwavering in his character. That's real resilience. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, consistent, unshaken. And once you begin to understand that, you realize something important. Growth never stops. Stoicism is not something you learn once and master forever. It's a daily practice, a continuous process of becoming, lesson by lesson, day by day. Every experience, good or bad, is feedback. An opportunity to learn something new about yourself. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly that life is short, so don't waste it on things that don't matter. Instead, focus on learning, improving, and becoming better, not perfect, just better than yesterday. Because even small progress, repeated daily, changes everything over time. Seneca took this even further. He believed that as long as you are alive, you should never stop learning how to live. Think about that for a second. Most people think learning ends after school. But real learning, the kind that shapes your character, your decisions, your peace of mind, that never ends. Every conversation teaches you something. Every mistake reveals something. Every challenge strengthens something. And the people who grow the most are the ones who stay open, who stay curious, who don't assume they already know everything. Epictetus encouraged this mindset, constantly questioning, constantly improving, constantly refining how you think and act. Because growth is not automatic. It's intentional. Aristotle believed that a fulfilling life, a flourishing life, comes from continuous development, from choosing to evolve instead of staying stuck. And Carl Jung described this as individuation, the lifelong process of becoming who you truly are. Not who others expect you to be. Not who you were in the past, but who you are capable of becoming. So instead of asking, "Am I there yet?" you start asking, "Am I growing?" Because that's what truly matters. And as this journey comes to a close, there's one thing to remember. This is not the end. It's just the beginning. Your life is not a fixed path, it's a canvas. And every day, whether you realize it or not, you are painting it. With your choices. With your thoughts. With your actions. So what kind of life are you creating? One driven by reaction, or one guided by intention? One shaped by fear, or one built on strength, clarity, and purpose? Because the Stoics believe something powerful. You are the architect of your life. And no matter where you are right now, you can always choose to build something better. So keep learning. Keep growing. Keep showing up for your life. And if this journey resonated with you, continue exploring, because the deeper you go, the more clarity you'll find. Stay curious, stay grounded, stay strong. And most importantly, keep becoming.